Hey everyone, this is Barbecue Boy here again doing another knife review. I'm actually at my place of business in my office and it's a little slow tonight, so I figured I'd go ahead and throw up a review that I've been meaning to do for a little while now. Well actually, to be honest with you, I just received these John Grimsmo scales about 2 to 3 weeks, about 2 weeks ago. And it's been killing me because I didn't have a ParaMilitary 2 yet, and that's what we have here is a ParaMilitary 2 in the M390 steel, and it was killed me. But I ordered this from Bento with a pre-order, I guess you could say, and before I knew it, I received a notification that it had shipped. So I was very happy, very surprised, because the first order had went out. Supposedly there was a lot of speculation that it would be till about February that the second batch may be shipped out. So I'm very happy about that. But I'm not here to speak of the ParaMilitary 2 per se. Everyone knows about it. There's a ton of reviews out there on the ParaMilitary 2. You know, I may hit a point or two on it, but my review's purpose is solely on the John Grimsmo scales. I had several email exchanges with John, and he was a pleasure to deal with. Before the knife came, I examined these scales because there was, John has some oops scales, I guess you could call it, that were not perfect. They may have had some chatter on the outsides of the scales and whatnot, and he would sell them like that. He said, "Hey, I have some goofs, some oops here if you want, and I'll reduce the price." And I said, no, I'll go ahead and spend the extra money, $50 or maybe a little bit more than that, just to go ahead and get a perfect set. And I was a little leery because there was a person or two kind of downing John, his abilities to make a nice scale. I would say out of the, I don't know how many sets, let's just say for argument's sake he did 100 sets of these scales. I would say there may have been I think there's probably one set that went out that wasn't up to par. But John, I spoke to John about it. He's like, listen, hey, you get these scales and you're not happy, I'm not happy. I'll refund your money or I'll take a look at them. And if there's any fit issues, I would be more than happy to correct it. What else more can you say ask from a knife maker? I mean, I've had customs, high dollar customs, that had a minor thing that was overlooked that should not have been looked in that kind of a price range, but it happened, and some custom makers take offense to it if you say, hey, I've got an issue here, and they're just kind of jerks about it. But John wasn't. He was like, hey man, I'll do whatever you want. And so I said, you know what, okay, give me these scales, I like you, you're standing behind your product, let's do this. So I get the product, and well, before I get the product, I was really kind of torn. Sorry about the lighting in here. My office is, I have fluorescent light right above my head. Let's see if I can focus in on this here. There we go. I was a little concerned with what colors I wanted to choose. I said, you know what, let's go with this bronze look. And I said, John, if you wouldn't mind, I have a feeling these are going to be pocket shredders, because the scales, they're going to be rough. He says, listen, I've had them, I use them, and I don't find them to shred my pocket. I said, okay, well, would you still mind going over it after you finish it? I wanted the outskirts of this hexagon look to be, not hexagon, honeycomb, the surface to be polished. And not too high polish, but more like a matte finish. He said, yeah, man, that'd be cool. Let's try it. And so I said, smooth them out, please, as much as you can. I want the surface to be as smooth as possible. And he said, okay, he was happy to oblige. And the bronze coloring was a little different than I was expecting, to be honest, but after holding it for a day or two, I'm actually very happy with it. The coloration is coming through my phone here really is a little off. It's a little bit more bronzish, deeper color, I guess you could say. I would best describe the coloration of this knife as a penny. Not one that's brand spanking new, but maybe one that's been in circulation for, I don't know, a few months, to where it starts to get that light patina to it. It really looks killer. And this pocket clip from Spyderco that comes on the ParaMilitary 2, it really looks nice with this polished surface of this honeycomb. You can kind of see how this really looks nice. It really complements it. Some people are getting the STR lowrider clip, but I actually really like this clip. It's not my favorite clip. My favorite clip would be the Chris Reeve clip on the Sabenza. I find that to be just a perfect clip and a work of art myself. But this here is a very nice clip. I do wish it would use the 3-hole positioning of, the Emerson, so you can put this really nice steel flame and this is steel flame clips on there. But hey, I'm happy with it. When I received the ParaMilitary 2, the blue scale ParaMilitary 2, it was centered perfectly, extremely smooth, and it did have a little bit of side-to-side play. I'm comparing. I'm a little bit of a knife snob. I'm comparing. I have adapted well to Chris Reeve knives and other high-end customs that I've had. The tolerances. Okay. Now the tolerances of the ParaMilitary 2 are not going to be like those, but I will say that these scales here certainly added some rigidity to the knife. Taking the knife apart was easy. The hardest part was this lanyard tube. Man, oh man, that's a press fit lanyard tube, and it was not fun to get off. What I did though, first I removed the pivot and these two handle screws, and then what I did was I took the scale and just totally turned it on its axis, which would be the lanyard tube, and just kind of wedged it up, and it came off perfectly. Then what I had remaining, once I took the blade and the lockout and the liners out, were just this scale with the lanyard tube sticking out. Boy, that was not fun, but it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. I just basically got a plastic tool and just kind of worked it up on 4 points. And when it came off, it went flying across the room. No damage, no scratches to the lanyard tube. But putting the lanyard tube into this knife was a cakewalk. It just fit right in there, and I could pull it right back out with a little bit of pressure. So, let me talk a little further about this knife. So when I reassembled it, I cleaned it, relubed it with some nano oil, 10 weight nano oil, and the blade operated smoothly, but it was not centered. I was like, oh no, and I was a little upset about it, quite honestly, and I did everything I could to get the blade centered. So I texted a friend of mine, a knife friend of mine. He's also on all the knife forums. I said, hey, I have an issue. What do you recommend me doing? He said, well, he says it's too much to text, and he's not much of a talker on the phone. He basically said, kiss my butt and go Google how to fix. His words were, how to center an off-centered blade. I Googled that exact thing. The first thing that came up was a picture-by-picture description of what to do. And it worked perfectly. I was so surprised. And it was very easy, honestly. All you do is you loosen. First you tighten your pivot on both sides, as tight as they'll go. And then you loosen the handle scales. I mean, not the handle scales, I'm sorry. You loosen the 2 screws on the handle on both sides as well. And when you do that, you get a piece of paper, fold it up as many times as you need, and to which side the blade is leaning. Like, let's say the blade was leaning towards this scale here, you would push the blade that way, all the way until it touches this scale, and shove that piece of paper in there for it to hold. So once it holds, then you go ahead and tighten up your 4 handle screws. And once you do that, you pull the paper out, and voila, your blade is perfectly centered. And then you can go ahead and loosen the pivot to the tension desired. Mine's pretty much still tightened down, because when you loosen it just a fraction of a hair, you start to develop some blade play. So, with that being said, now the knife is perfectly centered, no blade play, but it is a little stiff. It's still smooth, but in comparison to how a ParaMilitary 2 is, you know, when you press that lock, it should just drop freely, which it's not. So, and then you can feel a little bit of grittiness to it, but you know, let's give it some wear. I mean, some break-in time, and it will break in. You'll have to forgive my backdrop, guys. I have one of my cook aprons laying on my desk because under this apron is my desk mat, and under that desk mat, clear mat, I have a bunch of clients' phone numbers, information, and notes that my employees give me, and I don't want to show anyone's information. So, like I said, I'm at work, and I decided to do this at the last moment, so I'm kind of have a makeshift backdrop here, and this is my saddleback iPad case, which I love. A couple improvements could be made. I hate these damn tabs here. They're just a real pain in the rear end if you ever want to get into it, but it's very secure. It does make this nice thin iPad bulky, but I have dropped it on an occasion, and it protected the iPad very well. And it's a very nice material, nice quality. But I really wish he would come up with a better idea for this, which he may have one coming in the works. He has some kind of new iPad mini case coming out that he's supposed to be pretty proud of. And I have to check that out because I just bought my daughter an iPad mini for Christmas, which I really don't think she wants her iPad case to be a leather case. It has a nice pretty pink case. But anyway, guys, back to the knife. With the cost of the scales, $200, and the knife, $185, you're up there in the custom price range. That's my only thing I don't like about it. You gotta pay to play if you want custom scales, honestly. But in this case, John knocked it out of the park. It did add some weight. It definitely added some weight to the knife, but I don't mind it at all. And as far as this being a pocket shredder, you know, only time can tell. But I think over time, yeah, it will kind of damage my pocket a little bit. When you slide it in my pocket, I could definitely feel a little bit of a, you know, feeling to it. It's not going to be Strider double gunner grip type, you know, roughness, because it is smooth to the touch. But you know, it's not a solid flat surface. So yeah, it's going to possibly do some wear and tear to your pants in the long run. But guys, listen, thanks for watching my video, and if you come across any of these on the forums for sale used, I would jump on it. But before you do, ask if they are oops scales. Some of these holes may not line up perfectly, or there may be some chatter around the edges, which before I go, I want to talk about these edges. He did a phenomenal job of really rounding off these corners here. And focus. There we go. Really nice and smooth. So there you have it, guys. Thanks for watching.